Hello and welcome once again. So today we will be learning another type of locator, which is CSS Selector. So let's begin the session of CSS Selector. I will help you to understand the CSS Selector and also how you can find efficiently a CSS Selector from a web page. So without wasting much of our time, let's start our site demo.studysimple.in, and from that website we will be using our automation today, and today's lesson will be finding element or interacting element with CSS Selector. So let us open the website demo.studysimple.in. From there we will be going to the sample forms for testing, and in this page we will be interacting the elements using our CSS Selector. In the previous class we have learned how to interact element with ID and name, and in this class we will be learning how to interact element with the CSS Selector. So first thing is that you have to right click there and inspect element. Alternatively you can press F12 also. Once you are done, now the thing we will be doing, we will be inspecting an element. Suppose we want to open this launch demo model. Okay, we want to click this button. For clicking this button we have a type called button, and this class is button warning. Okay, and some other data are there. So as we are doing with the CSS Selector, we will be interacting with this one, button warning. So whether this element is returning the proper value or not, we will be interacting this in an efficient way. We will be go to the console, and in the console, let me clear up these things. We will be doing a $sign, only a $sign, and press a enter. Okay, so this means this returning something, that means it is interacted. That means we can do a interaction on this web page. So we have to pass the element, right? This one, button warning. Go there and pass this one, button warning. Remember one thing, as this is a class, so we have to give a $sign before the start. Within button and button warning there is a space, so we have to eliminate those space and give a dot. Press enter. Now once it is returning a data, then do one thing, then give a dot and write get 0. See, it is returning the data button and it is launch demo model. So we can use this CSS Selector. Go to the code and write there by CSS. So today's session will be CSS Selector, and the same way element by dot CSS, and we have to give the class name. As I told, you have to give dot and a dot. Okay, and then we have to click the element, it is the action class. So we don't need to give that get.0. It is just for the understanding purpose, and it is for the console purpose, whether it is returning the data correctly or not, or it is the first element or not. Okay, so in this way we can interact with the element and we can check whether this CSS Selector will work in our code or not. And let us give us run first, and then we will move further. See, the web page opened and it is interacting with email, autocomplete form, and next is the launch demo model. Yes, it is clicked on the launch demo model. The model title is opened. Okay, so it is working fine. The CSS Selector is working fine. Now let us also click this button, this close button, using the CSS Selector. Click there and inspect it. It is button danger. Fine. So we want to interact again in the similar way whether this CSS button danger will work or not. Okay, we will use the same one. Yes, we can see this close, so it is returning the button. So in this way we can also do the same thing. We will just copy this line, right, and paste it here, and inside the warning we will write danger. Fine. As we are selecting with the class, therefore we are giving a dot, right? Therefore we are giving the first dot as we are selecting through a class name, right? So let us close this modal and again give a run. The web page is opened. It is doing the interaction with the elements. It will click on the launch demo model and also close it. It's clicked. Now it is time to close. Yes, it is closed it also. So our test case got passed, and in this way we can interact the elements using the Protractor code. So let us extend this session. We have done the CSS selector and we have done CSS selector with a class name. The next thing we will be doing with the same CSS selector, but this time we will choose the ID. Okay, that means we are taking the CSS selector by an ID. Okay, in this case, in the case of an ID, what we are going to do is that we have to write the same thing, element by dot CSS fine, and give a bracket and a quotation, and inside that you have to give, for the ID you have to give a hash, and then you have to give the parameter. In the CSS in this class name you have done is a dot, right? And the appending structure also dot, but in case of an ID you have to give a hash. So in case of a password, what we have to do is that just go there and see any password is ID is there. In the ID we have a password called pwd, so we have to check whether this element is interactable or not. In case of a password you have to give, as it is a ID, so you have to give a hash sign before and then write get 0. So this is the way we have to do it, right? And this one is pwd. So, and you have to give a send keys here, right? And you can give any data. Just the main aim is to whether we are interacting with the element or not. You can give anything, right? So this is the way we are going to interact with an ID, CSS selector ID, and in the CSS selector class name. So let us save this one and run this one. So the first thing it will do, it will go with the email. It will write the email. It will go with the autocomplete form. Next it will click on the model, launch model, then it will close the model, and in the password it will write the password. So our code is working with the CSS selector class name and CSS selector ID also.